Hello, how's everybody?
Okay, fine here. How are you?
Good. I'll give a second for everybody to All right, so we're going to go over a little bit of C.A.R.'s updates as well as some of the market trends from the C.A.R. economist that we had for our office meeting about, I think, 2 months ago it's been. So a lot's changed since then. They've given us some new slides and updates. So we should be able to read that to you guys more often. And I'll actually include his PowerPoint in the email with the recording. That way everybody can view that as well. So let's see. All right, so moving on. So pretty much to give you guys kind of like an overview from the C.A.R. leadership briefings that we get on a weekly basis. Pretty much some few articles have talked about the economy and the finances. Pretty much since 3 weeks ago is when this last time was updated. So the weekly job losses had actually dropped again from last week. And then the 20-week streak of jobless claims topped out at 1 million. So that's down below. I think everybody is familiar that the president did his executive order to continue the workmen's compensation, which would have given us as independent contractors an additional $400 here in California. Obviously, the governor of California didn't want anything to do with our president, so they limited that back down to 300. So that's still waiting to get passed. But once the governor signs that, we'll be back to about three quarters of what we actually would get for our independent contractors unemployment per week, different than the 600 that was originally given out earlier in the year. More on the unemployment, so you guys can see, and you can see how the month over month has changed. Obviously, we had a lot in the beginning of March through the end of April, and we're back down to roughly in that 8.4 million still left. Applications for purchases, so you guys are familiar with it. Out there you can see the year-over-year change the week-over-week change for new mortgage purchase applications. So we're still down 2.64 for the last 2 weeks or so. Obviously the beginning of August there on the 7th, we see that it actually spiked up again, and obviously when the rates really took their first dip was that 4th of July weekend. I think all of us at least got a phone call from a potential buyer saying that, hey, they're ready to buy now because money is cheap. Also on the purchase contracts, you guys will see on the right-hand side of that chart there, the year over change. So you can see how it's actually different. So we're still up, 28% over more, which is kind of unreal for most of California, seeing as there isn't a lot of inventory out there for everybody. More on the sales purchases. I think all of us kind of know that the prices aren't getting any cheaper, at least in the South Bay area. So California stats show that there was just under 500,000 units sold. So we're down a little bit for the year over date, but the year to year we're up 6.4% already, and we're not even through the end of the year. So think of our spring crazy buying season pretty much going into probably November this year. We'll see if it continues past the January mark, but usually we have that seasonal slowdown that happens after Thanksgiving and the holidays through about President's Day weekend in February. More activity, so you guys can see what the surveys that the California Association of Realtors has done. They pretty much did a survey asking how many listing appointments have you done this week, so you guys can kind of see how the year over, or the week over week has changed. Back from May, just doing very little for it, to where July, you can see it spurred up a little bit there. And then obviously, this is September timeframe. They don't have the Labor Day stats till October, so they're always about a month behind. Do they enter escrow? We did list a property this week. Do you want appointments? So you can see that the market is actually doing very well. More listings, half as many listings as last month, and this is due to that lack of inventory. So if you have any sellers out there that aren't getting any offers, it's obviously overpriced, because you should be getting offers on every property that's listed, because there isn't enough out there. Same thing with the supply. You guys can see back to the July stats here, that we're down 50.7% in Southern California, and same thing in the Central Valley and Central Coast. The Bay Area is the only one that's down only 32% on their supply the year over year. New listings still haven't changed. There's still the same amount coming on the market. So that's what's keeping that inventory still very tight. So more on the articles that get passed around for our leadership update. The market and the housing recovery. So California's housing recovery continued into July sales to the highest in 2.5 years, while setting another record for median home price. That's for California. July sales climbed over 400,000 that we saw on those charts since February, and we're up 6.4% from a year ago. And then the Judicial Council of California voted, this would have been 2 weeks ago on Thursday, to end that statewide moratorium on foreclosures and evictions on September 1st. And that gives lawmakers a couple more weeks to figure out. So they pretty much have until, I believe, the end of this week to figure that out. More on the stuff that just passed recently, and that's the COVID-19 Tenant Relief Act of 2020. So this is a Q&A that's available on the C.A.R.'s website. And after I go through some of these slides, I'll show you guys how to navigate that to get the most latest information. There's lots of legal Q&A, as well as great PDFs that you can print out that are just one page. Because of the slides, I had to put them onto two. So on here, it's if a tenant has not paid the rent since March 2020, can a landlord evict him on it? And so not if they actually complete the COVID-related declaration of financial distress. So they have to show that they have some sort of hardship for it. And then everybody's familiar with how the rent periods are. So they don't have to pay for periods from March through January, but they have to pay back starting January 21, the rest of that term on their lease for it. So what if they miss a payment for anything from September 1st till then? The tenant's responsible for paying at least 25% of the monthly rent, so they can't skip out on not paying anything at all. Say, however, the amount needed to be paid needs to be paid by the January 31st deadline of 2021. So after that, with the exception of the 25% owed, the landlord can actually do an unlawful detainer, demand the payment, and start that eviction process if they haven't started paying. Number 3 on here is, can a landlord still serve a 3-day notice for a pay quit if they haven't made any payments for it? And so not for any rent that's from January 1st through for March 1st of this year till January 31st of next year. So don't think that you guys can start serving notices if they don't pay, or you just need to work out that they can get that at least 25% monthly rate to them. They'll be modified to a 15-day notice rather than the 3-day notice, and a copy of that COVID-19 related declaration for financial stress form, you'd have to be filled out as well. So where are these new notice sites? We'll have them on C.A.R.'s website once they have those forms available. My guess is by the end of this month, since this is something that just passed. Let's see. Are the single-family properties, condos, and new construction within the last 15 years still exempted from the statewide use of cause eviction? So that's Assembly Bill 1482, and it's no. Under the new rent relief law, all properties are now subject to just cause evictions, just like the AB 1482, until February 1st of 2021. For it. So what if I'm selling a property, which brings us in as the real estate agent for it, a single family property or a condo that's occupied by a tenant. In that case, as an owner, may still terminate the tenancy as contracted to sell if the buyer is willing to take that occupancy for it. All the requirements of just cause provision on 18 will still be in effect. So as long as they filled out that just cause eviction form and the COVID, what was it, the COVID financial COVID declaration of financial distress form for it. So once they have that, there'll be a new C.A.R. form. Does the owner collect unpaid rent for the periods of March 1st, 2020 to January 31st, 2021? So the balance of the unpaid rent is still owed. The rent relief law permits the claim for unpaid rent to be brought into small claims beginning March 1st of next year. Even that amount owed will otherwise be more of a small claims court limit. And so does C.A.R. have any more information on that? And yes, that's on the Q&A. There's actually more than just this one-page form. It's available on the C.A.R.'s website. So here's some of the links that you guys can actually go to. The easiest one is just go to car.org, and on the drop-down, you can click risk management. And you'll see the top one there is that tenant folder. The other one is the weekly updates and COVID updates that's on the top of the page. And that's the microsite that C.A.R. set up, and that's the C.A.R. covidupdates.org. And really, I recommend everybody go to check out that weekly recap. It's about 2 weeks behind for it, as well as the market update, which is done every month for it. So you guys can see through that. Let's see, and I'll bring you guys to that page so you guys can see. I think I have some more on here. Let's pull up our website here so you guys can actually see me go through it. If anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand, speak up, just unmute yourself. I'll navigate you guys through the site here. So this is car.org. You'll have to log in at the top right in order to access anything. But the easiest one here is clicking on the newest updates. That's that first link there. As soon as you click on that, that'll take you right to that microsite, which is the C.A.R. covidupdates.org. You can actually just scroll right down. It kind of has it set up as bullet points, so you guys can see everything that I covered today on that September 9th overview. That Q&A is also available there. So see if we click on the weekly updates. I'll pull up our form here. These are just cause evictions. That's the FAQ for that. Under the risk management on legal documents here. And also if anybody was available today, really on that risk management, they're actually having that COVID-19 Tenant Relief Act of 2021 that we just went over with that one-page report, a webinar from 1:30 to 3 p.m. So I'd recommend that you guys register for that as well. I'll also include that in the link that goes out. Chances are though, it'll go out with our YouTube recording around 1 o'clock. So you may want to go to the C.A.R. website to register for it right away. The easiest way I think for everybody to access it would be just to click the link here right in the chat. If everybody can see that, and you'll just click right on that registration. If you need the exact C.A.R. registration, that's there. And then scrolling down, so we have the step-by-step thing for filing a claim. So these are the previous webinars that they've actually done. Prevention for opening the office, and then We also have on here the quick guide to showing compliance. I think everybody's kind of familiar with that. You must have the PRE, posted rules of entry, on every property as you're accessing that shown by appointment, open house, or just viewing. On the actual property, must have hand sanitizer and disinfecting wipes. Also, signs saying that they must cover their faces for it. As a listing agent, I'd recommend just buying a couple disposable ones to put there, just in case people don't show up with their masks for it. The property has to be cleaned by the listing agent, so make sure that you are scheduling time in between those showings. I recommend that you guys leave all windows and doors open during those showings. That way everything can kind of get some fresh air. That's here on number 7. And then prior to it, make sure that everybody's leaving the property is also putting hand sanitizer on and discarding whatever trash they have in some sort of receptacle up there. Going back to our other reopenings here. This has our actual picture. Let's see if I can get it here. Right, industry. All right. So pretty much to do it for anybody to actually visit that property, the best is to send them that PADV, which stands for visitor. There is one that's a PADS, that's for the seller. For all the PADV forms, so V as in visitor, the seller has to acknowledge them at the bottom, not necessarily before the showing, but in order to keep that in your file. For the listing agent, that's your responsibility to have all those forms. On the buying side, I recommend that we all keep ours in zip forms or a scanned copy available in case they're ever needed. But really, it's just having a copy for that listing closing file when you guys turn it into Lauren in the office for it. And we recommend that they're all signed electronically. Obviously, there's people that can't do it electronically or not able to do it timely enough. They may be able to show up for that appointment. So it's easy to have just a clipboard, you know, with a pencil that you or a pen that you guys can actually sanitize with a wipe or even hand sanitizer, and then have them sign that before they enter the property. Let's see, what else is on here for us to go over? Having those posted rules of entry as well on the front and back of it. What's really great about using that PAD form, especially when you're working with buyers, it's an easy way for us to actually get that agency form signed as well, and even that representation for that buyer. So we want to lock in that buyer just like we do for a listing, and that's an easy way for us to send all those forms. Most clients will just sign them because we sent it to them and they want to view that property. And that way, if they ever write an offer on that property that we already showed them, they've already contracted with you saying that you want them to represent that property. There's still no traditional open houses. I think everybody's familiar with that. You still can't post them in C.A.R. MLS currently. Hopefully, as soon as the mandate is lifted, we'll actually have more showings available through that open house portal. Let's see, we've already gone through the cleaning for it, disinfecting after each property. And then there's the residential listing agreement COVID form attachment addendum. I think it's amendment and addendum. That allows you to actually hire them at the cost of the cleaning service if the seller wants to agree to that, rather than having you as the listing agent do it. Just like the normal social distancing, they want everybody to practice those same protocols, so 6 feet apart, having masks on, and maintaining. Same thing is if they all came in their same car, keep them in their own little pod, have them come in and view the property, and have them leave together. Let's see, and that's all we got for the showing instructions for it. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody out there? Is anybody showing properties still that working with buyers? I mean, the interest rates are unbelievable right now. So I mean, if you're not out there showing properties, somebody is showing them to your clients.
Amen.
I have something to say, Danny.
Yeah, good, Elena.
Yeah, I am showing properties pretty much a couple of times a week. I'm working with a couple of clients. And yesterday we went to see a property that it was just listed the evening before. So yesterday was pretty much the first day of showing, and we had a 5:40 appointment. And there were people who were leaving when we arrived, and there were people who were waiting when we left. And the listing agent was there showing property in a row. So he had like, I asked him, he had like 10 showings or 15, he said. And he has another day booked like yesterday. So this is North Orange.
Yeah, so the South Bay market is pretty crazy. I mean, the lack of inventory just itself. I mean, you can see as soon as a property goes from active to pending, there's another one that comes on the market active again, because there's obviously more buyers out there. And an example we can use is our Marble Estates property for it. You know, we had, I think, 12 offers on it, and two, you know, that were at outrageous prices that we never would have guessed. So don't necessarily think that you have to list that property high to sell it. Really listing it low is probably going to get you the most activity. And with the interest rates being low, it's even with an appraisal not coming in, buyers have money out there or they're looking to move up. Any other questions? Anybody out there that's having problems? Everybody's using their PAD forms, not having any issues with that?
I'm using the PEDS form every few days just from showing property, and it's pretty easy.
Are you sending out like the pre-approvals, or are listing agents still requiring that? At least that's what we've seen.
Yes, they're requiring it. So when I'm in the MLS, I just press the PEDS button, go to Glide, and get it. And now I can do a PEDS form in under 3 minutes. So
Yep.
when I first started, it was much longer.
Yeah, practice makes perfect, and more get used to it, because a lot of these forms are going to be done digitally probably from now on. Let's see, anybody else have any questions? Trying to think of what else kind of issues we run into. Has anybody had sellers that don't want to show their property? Maybe just want it to be submit an offer and then we'll show that property to that client?
No.
And then has everybody, the ones that you're viewing, do most of them have virtual tours out there?
No.
Okay.
I've been in Culver City, Marina Del Rey, Lawndale. Those are the three main, in Torrance. And so far, no virtual tours, and the price range anywhere from like $650 to a little over $1 million.
Yeah, I think with the virtual tours is the demand was so high in the beginning that it got really hard to actually schedule people to do it. And I think everybody's kind of taking a break now, or they're on vacation, since this is like the first holiday weekend we've had in a while where people are either driving out of town or just leaving for the weekend. So I think it's going to be a little bit harder as the year goes on to get those photographers out there all the time. So hopefully everybody that has a listing is at least hitting up our title rep, Robert with Stewart Title, to get that tour. It makes it a lot easier for you to go active right away and potentially not show that property until the seller is able to. That's one of the ways that we listed our last listing in Torrance, was that is it was listed on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and the plan was to have showings on Saturday and Sunday. The seller was able to accomplish some of them on Friday evening, so we did Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday for about 2 or 3 hours. All right, so in case anybody wants to go to that risk management webinar. I put that link in the chat so you guys can actually click on that to register, and I'll send it out also with the recording. But if anybody doesn't have any questions, this is up to you guys. So any COVID related, forms related, showings, ask away. So everybody's happy, huh? Has everybody got a listing coming up this month?
I actually had to go away because I got a call and now I came back, so I don't know what happened in the last 5 minutes.
That's right. Yeah, just make sure everybody registers for that C.A.R. webinar. That's on that tenant relief that just got passed. So that way you guys can get some more detail on it. And they also have that individual form that I think I can put on here for you guys, so you can download that as well. Is everybody following the new AB bills that are getting passed?
What was that?
The new Senate bills and Assembly bills?
No, I never
All right.
followed that.
Is it for ADUs?
No, just more on the Tenant Relief Act. So that's the current one that's gone out there.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to download that,
Is it the
I'll
one?
have a link as well in the recording, but you guys can actually click on that. That's the one page that kind of explains what the webinar is going to kind of go over today. And then, let's see, the actual legal Q&A. So this is under that risk management that you guys can also find as well. Let me pull these up so you guys can actually
I've already
see them.
registered. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, so the best is going through the C.A.R. site, and once you log in, that way you'll be able to see those. So this is the full Q&A that you guys can actually read through. So this is that Assembly Bill 3088. So all these are individual linked to kind of go over and read through. They have a full summary on here about the new stuff that's going into effect September 1st through January 31st of 2021. And then any kind of small claims court stuff for the balance is all going to be done March 1st of 2021. So it's going to be interesting how the courts actually get everything back. Back on that quick guide. So this is where I pulled my screenshots from. So this is kind of just a one line, one page for each one, kind of summarize it all. But that's all I got for you guys, unless you guys have any other questions.
Nope.
Well, you guys are making these almost too easy. Wow, I expected more interaction from you
It's
guys.
a boring subject, Danny. It's a boring subject. Sorry.
Well, COVID happened, right? I mean, there's nothing we can do about it.
No.
I mean,
Danny, am I
it can't
on?
be that boring. Yeah, it can't be that boring if there's 20 people that want to have questions. I'm just surprised that nobody's asking any questions. Are y'all all watching
Danny,
the
am I on?
news and me? Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, okay.
You have a
I wanted
question?
to ask you, how do you do brokers open house by appointment, or even general public open house by appointment?
Depends on like what are you trying to have that same kind of where you're serving food just like you would do on a normal broker's
No
open?
food. I get all these emails where they announce the open house to brokers, and then they have this calendar where the people can sign in the time.
Okay, yeah, the best is that I've seen is the South Bay Association. So every Friday they do their kind of virtual caravan is what they call it. And if you have a Matterport link or a YouTube video or even like a slideshow for you to kind of navigate, and this is you just talking to other realtors. So that way, if they know about it coming on the market, like coming soon, you guys can still put that on that caravan if it's coming for that weekend, for the Saturday, Sunday that's going active. It just has to be in the MLS. And that's the easiest way to kind of get that information out there firsthand. Sending out emails and all that, with the amount of information that we get on a daily basis, it's just not as effective as having face-to-face meetings. And people are going to log into that virtual caravan. They want to know what's coming on the market. So they're either looking for a specific property, maybe it's one in a certain area that has a pool, or they want a 2-story house with a view, or they're looking, for like a horse property. That's kind of where you're going to find that perfect agent to work with.
But I don't know if that was what she was asking. Maybe my question would be similar than hers, but I don't know if what you answered is what I would have asked. Is how do you do an open house with appointment?
Well,
and I guess we just say that in the MLS. I'm going to be there from 2 to 5 tomorrow, and you can show up, but only with an appointment, something like that.
Well, in theory, we are doing an open house. It's just following the protocols. So whether it's spacing people out or not viewing them, the problem is when we use that term open house, everybody thinks of it as like those mega open houses where there's just tons of people lining up outside that want to view a property, and that isn't following those new guidelines for it. But lining up outside and having a 6-foot distance and having people waiting in line and signing in before they go in, spacing them out 10 minutes apart, that's shown by appointment. So that's the best term for it. I would still put the open house writers, whatever you want on the house, and just make sure that the sign out front is clearly stated, that this is by appointment only. And if you're not by appointment and they just showed up and walked off the street, they need to wait until their time is open. When we did do our Fell Bar property in Torrance, we had probably 2 neighbors that saw all the people outside, or one. So we just had them sign a PAD form on a clipboard that we brought, and they had to wait about 10 minutes before they could go in the property, but we would fit them in. So as long as you're scheduling everything out, pretty clearly, it's easy to kind of fit people in as the gaps happen, because people are going to be late, people are going to be, slow. So it's not a perfect world, and depending on when the agents show up, their clients may not be there as well.
Right. That's good. That's a good.
Yeah. Joe, you had a question?
No, I was going to say when I did mine, it was a condo complex. So what I did was I sat outside. I had about 10 sets of the PEAD forms. So on the signs, on the open house signs, I wrote appointment only, which meant that when they got there, they'd have to wait. The protocol, 15 minutes or so while I walk somebody around. Sadly, nobody showed, so I had no way to practice this, but that seems to be what most people are doing. Let's say that Danny wants to show my listing. I'm going to be there from 2 to 4, and he's going to show it from, 2:30 to 2:45. And then Helen's going to come and she's going to show it at 3 o'clock. Well, that's great. I'm just there to monitor that. Or if it's vacant, we can kind of get away with it, I guess. But we always need to be there to clean it up afterwards anyway.
Yeah.
So,
and the easiest was too is not really necessarily cleaning, is just making sure that they're not touching everything. I think is the easiest, as long as they're coming in, using a hand sanitizer, that first squirt, washing their hands, going out, walk around the house, and then come back, and they have masks on. We're following all of those protocols. With a vacant property, the way I've seen it is there really isn't much cleaning going on, but most of the windows and everything are open for it, and they'll just have the timer set that you can only access it, and they'll give you the key code when it's your time, using that CBS code on the super lockbox. And they kind of time those about every 30 minutes rather than we were doing every 15. But realistically, you could probably schedule them, in about every 10-minute increments, because you're going to have people that are going to be late and people that are going to be early, and you just kind of like fit them all in, beforehand or after. The easiest is just getting everybody through the property and done.
Question.
Yeah.
What would be the ultimate reason, legal reason, the ultimate for a potential buyer to sign the PID form?
well, the seller won't let them view the property. So if they
Right,
really
but
wanted
then
to see the
we know that
property,
that's a protocol that we are following, but what would be the ultimate reason? Let's suppose, like she just said, she had 10 sets of PIDs on her desk to have newcomers that did not have an appointment to sign it. First of all, if I am one of those people, will I get a copy myself? And you will keep, do I give a copy to the person who signs the PID at the entrance of the property? I mean, this is just a curiosity at this point.
yeah.
And then,
The
and
easiest
then
way that
what-
I found is once they take it, is just having them take a picture of it. That way they have it, or you take a picture
okay.
of it and text it or email it to them. That way
Okay,
you have the paper copy.
I see. So that would be one question answered, good. The other one would be, in what circumstance something could go wrong that you would have that document to back up what?
Well, we don't know yet since we haven't
Oh,
been confronted with that. I mean, that's going to be later
okay.
on. But
Okay.
really, it's the buyer acknowledging, just like every time you come into the real estate group office or every time you go into a grocery store, they have all their signs posted saying that you're not experiencing any of the COVID symptoms for it.
I see.
You haven't been exposed to somebody in the last
I see.
10 days. So you're pretty much signing away saying that, hey, you're not doing this, or you're not essentially doing any harm to somebody on purpose.
I see. Okay.
And that's really all the form we can do. We can't really take people's temperatures because we're not medical professionals. So it's going to be
Right.
hard. We have to go by their word. And obviously, in this new environment, people may have had it and they just didn't have the symptoms too. So there's going to be a
Right.
lot of stuff for us to figure out later on. But I don't know of anybody that's going to willfully go into an open house or go to the grocery store when they're sick. So I think that's
Right.
an issue that we haven't got to yet, but I'm sure
And same with the property.
I'm sure it'll come up later on this year.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
Thank
us
you.
as agents, I mean, as long as we're feeling healthy, it's just like we wouldn't go meet with somebody if we had the cold or the flu. We would just stay home for the day.
Exactly. Good.
Any other questions out there, guys? All right, well, that ends our meeting. I'll send out the recording so everybody can view it online, as well as the PowerPoints and some of these quick guides. So have a great Thursday, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
Danny. Same
you.
to you.
Thank you.
Day.